I'm here with soon-to-be NASCAR driver John Barry.
Not good. Bucky Mobile's in the shop because I don't know how to drive.
I thought they said rubbing is racing, but not when the tire goes into a curb.
Not when the tire goes into a curb, your head goes into the steering wheel, and it just very traumatic.
What? Did you get concussed?
I might have been concussed if I wasn't already before that, but
maybe it knocked some sense into
Bucky's in the shop, and it's going to be a long couple of weeks, an expensive couple of weeks.
People aren't going to be able to track you around
No,
town.
nobody came to rescue me either. I was lying in a snowbank for 3 days, and no one came, but I survived, and on to another edition of Extra Points.
Yeah. Good thing.
Yeah, I know.
We got to talk some Packers. They're on a roll here.
That was impressive last Sunday.
We also promised our viewers some hockey chat.
Yep, we will have a little hockey chat with the Fury and Bluebirds.
Badgers.
Any
other hockey we can
Badger volleyball. What happened to that? Boy, they kind of laid an egg the last 3 games. It's too bad.
You're our volleyball expert.
I am the
Wisconsin volleyball expert. So
yes.
You'll have to ask you about that.
All right.
So that's up on this episode of Extra Points. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Extra Points. I'm Eric Schmoldt, Gazette sports editor, along with sports writer John Barry. All 4 or 5 of you join us every week to listen to us talk about sports, and we'll do it here again.
Let's delve into it.
I guess the Packers we got to start with this week because everybody kind of left them for dead a few weeks ago.
They did.
And Aaron Rodgers came out and said they were going to run the table, and they're halfway there.
They are, and I'm not surprised that they won because I think certainly at home at Lambeau they're pretty tough, but it's the fashion in this which they won. 38-10 in a game that Seattle was never in, and I mean that's a pretty good team.
You don't usually see that from the
No,
Seahawks.
even Pete Carroll said that's the worst beatdown they've ever gotten, and started early with that first possession when they scored, and it just kind of snowballed from there. Pardon the pun, and Green Bay looked very good. The problem is right now they need help because if the playoffs started today, they would not be in because the Giants and Redskins have a better record. That would be your 2 wild card teams. You'd have the Cowboys, Seattle,
the Lions, baby.
The Lions, and who are we missing?
The Buccaneers?
Buccaneers, maybe, or else
Buccaneers,
Atlanta, one of those two. But yeah, so I mean the Packers still got to win out. Certainly
like ninth or something in the NFC.
The Bears this week at Chicago. I would think a game they should win. And then I saw today that that last game of the year against the Vikings, AP said he will be back and playing.
Well, they play the Vikings in Week 16.
Yeah, so Week 16 will be AP's return, is what he said. And
because basically they have to win out, or really get some help from the Lions.
They do.
Lions obviously have the Giants and the Cowboys still to go, so they could lose one or both of those.
Right.
But it signs maybe pointing to at Week 17 showdown, Detroit and Green Bay. For the division.
It could be.
I don't know if I'm completely sold. And obviously, they're playing way better than they were a month ago. But
right.
It's not like they've. Yes, the Seahawks are one of the top teams in the NFC, and they have been. But clearly, Russell Wilson hasn't had a great season, and he had a terrible day on Sunday.
And Earl Thomas
even when he did throw the ball well, then his receivers dropped it or had it go off their faces or whatever else.
Whatever it might have been.
It's not like they've. I guess it's hard to say that they haven't beaten anybody good because obviously Seattle is good, but I don't know that they're where they have been in previous years. And I guess I just don't know if I'm 100% certain that the Packers are really as good as what they've looked the last 3 weeks.
I concur. And I think the biggest thing with Green Bay is the running game. They still have not established one. And I think going into last week, Rodgers was their leading rusher. And, again, you get down to this time of the year where it's cold and you want to run the ball and control clock, and you've got to establish that somehow, whether it's James Starks or Christian Michael or whoever it might be. Green Bay is somehow, because like you said, when they play a good team, they're going to be able to run the ball. And if they can get into the playoffs, you can only ride Aaron Rodgers' arm so far because at some point teams are going to, they're going to make you beat them through running it, and Green Bay can't do that, then it'll be a one and done for them.
Hey, now they've got Ty Montgomery, though. He's officially a running back now.
Is he?
So,
okay,
yes,
all right. Okay.
They have shifted his designation, so he's officially a running back.
He's so small, he is one hit away from being on the IR is what he is. So, they need a big, bulky guy that can just pound and pound and pound like LeGarrette Blount. I mean, he watched him last night against Baltimore, and boy, he runs hard, he's big, he's a load, and when they needed a first down or a couple yards, he gave it to them, and that's what Green Bay needs. And I know they got that with Lacey But they got to find that with someone else because third downs are important, and certainly clock management in the playoffs is a big deal.
Well, just the NFL playoffs, with the weather the way that it is, especially, it could be crazy down in Chicago on Sunday maybe. You're not going to win in the NFL if you can't run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you'll win some games, but you're not going to win a championship.
No.
So what do they do to, I guess, this past week they were able to kind of go half and half with Montgomery and Michael, and maybe that eases some of it a little bit when you don't have that one, feature back. But
right.
Can even those two guys hold up getting 10 to 12 carries a game, or is that too much?
Well, not only that, but the defense, which had kind of been a sieve, really played well Sunday. 10 points against the Seattle team with Jimmy Graham and Russell Wilson and some other weapons that they have. That was a good defensive effort by Green Bay.
Sort of. It's not like Seattle's offense has really been
no, it isn't.
Scoring
but
at will
still,
this season.
when they're clicking, and Jimmy Graham had been pretty good the last few weeks, and Russell Wilson, those are the kind of games he usually shines in. And for whatever reason,
Russell Wilson has like 12 touchdown passes.
They didn't play well. Seattle got down early and just couldn't recover. And I'm not saying they threw in the towel, but it was never close.
You got to think they're going to beat the Bears. Vikings.
Sam Bradford's done nothing since. Other than that first game against Green Bay,
weeks, yeah.
He's done nothing. Although if Peterson's back, obviously that makes a difference. But how healthy is he, and how close to 100% is he going to be? And I still think with Aaron Rodgers, he's still the X factor kind of in all this because he's won a Super Bowl, he's been there, and now that he and Jordy are kind of on the same page, and Devontae Adams is emerging as a serious threat. Cobb seems to just come up with a big play every game. So I think offensively Green Bay's in better shape than they were a month ago, but they still got
defensively too. They've got guys back, so we'll
defensively
see.
too, and they just have to establish something with the running game. And if they can do that, I wouldn't want to play him in the playoffs.
Usually when Rodgers says something goofy, it pans out.
He backs it up.
And
yep.
So far, so good. And I think we're heading for a Week 17 showdown. We'll see what happens over the next couple weeks.
Yep.
We promised everyone a little cross-check.
Cross-check hockey. Is that boarding? Was that boarding? Oh, no, that's from behind.
I think that was a cross-check.
Okay, cross-check.
Maybe.
No, the hockey in the area is good. The Jets are in first place.
First place. They just swept the second-place Magicians. Couple shootout victories.
Springfield coming into town this weekend. I know Saturday night's a big night with the teddy bear toss. Chance for fans to really, obviously, a great cause, and they'll distribute teddy bears to, I think, the first 300 fans or something like that, and then you get a chance to throw it on the ice, and they'll collect all those and hand them to the needy and children in need, and a great cause and a chance to see another Jets team that's playing well.
Yeah, I got a chance to see them Friday night, and I guess the thing that stood out to me was obviously their record shows they're really good. They won 2 games in shootouts against a goalie that was probably the hottest goalie in the league, at least this weekend. He was named like the division's second star of the week, even though he didn't even win either game, which tells you something. He stopped like 50 shots Friday night, and they still found a way to win. So I think the Jets just really have something good going again this season. They get this weekend series before a little bit of a holiday break, and then they'll be back for the second half of the season. But I think if we've learned anything this first half, it's that it's another season where the Jets are going to be in contention.
And
for the
Jets was
Cup.
still the greatest name player of the NHL history, and Lord Anthony Grissom. So any team with Lord Anthony on it is going to be good. I don't care.
He's assistant captain. So.
I know he is. He's a player.
The thing is, they have a whole bunch of guys that are scoring points too. It's not just like one line or one guy. Everybody seems to be contributing, and I talked to the guys down there, and they say the locker room. It's just one of those where they feel pretty good, and when you're winning, that only kind of reemphasizes.
And a little local flavor, because I can remember a couple years ago covering Cole Pascas when he was playing for the Regents at Madison West, and last week he, gets a well-deserved D1 commit to UMass Lowell, and now this week, last week he got the shootout winning goal, winner, and it's good to see a local kid that I got a chance to see, and from the Madison area. Doing well, and he'll get a chance, like I say, to play at the next level. And that, for those Jets, that's what it's all about, is getting a chance to play at the Division I level. And there aren't many programs in that NHL that have sent more to Division I than the Jets have in the last few years.
The last 2 years, I think they've led the way, and they've got 5 already this year, and it sounds like plenty more coming. So
Good for them.
Yep, and we'll see here as the second half kind of gets underway if they can just keep it rolling.
Yep.
It's one of those things where you wonder, like, is this something you could sustain throughout the season? But when you're winning, it just breeds more.
It does.
And more and more.
You know, credit to Coach Dibble and his staff. And, you know, they put a great product on the ice. And, you know, like I say, if looking for something to do on weekends when they're home, get down there and watch because it's good entertainment. It's quality hockey. And you'll see kids play hard, and that's what it's about.
And the high school teams have kind of gotten rolling here. I think the Fury, everybody kind of wondered. The girls' area co-op team, they went to state last year. Would
Right.
they be able to kind of come back and keep that going, or was it a 1 year thing and they'd have to rebuild? Well, they're kind of showing, I think, that they're the program's established enough that they're going to make some noise. And they're doing it without a huge group of seniors too. So this is something I think that's going to sustain itself here for a couple of years. And I think they're off to going into Tuesday night a 5-1-1 start, and outside of a hiccup against the number 1 ranked team in the state on when they had to play back-to-back nights,
Right.
which I think you can give them a little bit of a pass on that one. I think they've looked pretty good.
Yeah, I think certainly that program's headed in the right direction. You know, kudos to Dave Sadi, who's second-year coach, I believe. You know,
Sounds right.
And doing a nice job. And you know, a lot of times with a co-op, it's tough because you're taking Beloit Memorial, Beloit Turner, Janesville Craig, Janesville Parker, Milton
actually has the most
you know,
players, I think.
Clinton at one point was in there. Monroe had a
Monroe.
couple kids. You know, I mean, that's tough. I mean, from a coaching standpoint, because really the only time you see those girls is at practice during a game. And, you know, when you're trying to build chemistry and a cohesive unit and that, it's tough to do. And obviously Dave's done a good job. So hats off to him. I'm looking forward to seeing them play tonight. This is Tuesday against Sun Prairie, which is a pretty good program in itself. So the Furies heading in the right direction, unlike our Bluebirds, who, you know, I thought really this was a chance for John Maurer and maybe his best team ever, and for whatever reason they're struggling right now. Just not. I don't know exactly what's going on. I haven't had a chance to talk to them, but the Bluebirds very disappointing blowout loss to Sun Prairie, and I don't think that's a score of indicative of anything that we would thought would happen this year. And they've got 5 straight road games coming up in the Big 8, starting with Verona tonight. And, you know, it's Madison East La Follette tonight and then Verona later in the week. And we'll see how the Bluebirds, you know, bounce back. I think when they get everybody on the ice and everybody's healthy, I still think they got a chance to be pretty good. But right now there's a little bit of an identity crisis.
Well,
right
I think
now.
it's, you know, we just talked about the Jets who have a locker room where it seems like everyone is just a cohesive unit.
Yep.
And I think sometimes in a high school team, it takes a little while to develop that.
Yep.
And if you don't necessarily have it at the beginning of the season, sometimes that's okay. I think even we've seen that with some Bluebird teams in the past,
Yep.
where as the season goes on and guys kind of learn to trust each other a little bit more,
Definitely.
it can come together. And I think that's what you got to hope for the Bluebirds here as the season rolls along.
And if anyone can get that team together, it's John Marmon. He'll have them ready, and I guarantee by the end of the year, they'll have their sights set on making a nice long playoff run.
They've got the scorers back
They do.
from last year.
Yeah,
I
they
think.
do.
I mean, I think it's just a matter of just getting everybody on the same page.
Sometimes it's lines, and
gelling a little
you
bit.
do you want to put your 2 good lines together? Or do you want to spread them out and play 3 lines and lose a little bit offensively? And obviously defensemen, you got to have at least 4 quality defensemen. Otherwise, you only got 1 or 2. You're going to run them to death, and it's a long season. So they're still trying to find themselves. I think they will, and we'll see what happens with the 5-game road schedule coming up, how they bounce back, and you know, when they come home, how they're playing. When I think it's Beloit on the 22nd is their next home game.
We mentioned the Badgers a little bit quickly too. The men's team, I think, is, you know, they've kind of been up and down. I think they're still receiving votes in the national poll. I think, if I remember right, they're kind of winning Friday and losing Saturday every
yeah.
week, it seems like. But I think all signs point to the new coaching staff setting that team in the right direction still. And then
Yep.
on the women's side, they're cruising right along at number 1 in the country with a little local flavor.
Alexis Marmon got a goal the other night, and for a freshman, she's a big contributor.
I think she's got 4 or 5
I think she's
goals
got
this
4
year.
or 5. She had 2 in one game and has a few assists. And really the plus-minus minutes, which is a lot of times what coaches look at because it means penalties and if the other unit scored when you were on the ice and that, her plus-minus numbers are good. So, you know, she's been a big contributor, and they're ranked number 1, split with Minnesota, who was number 2, and you know, those are the 2 elite programs in the country right now are Minnesota and Wisconsin. So maybe, you know, maybe the Badger women under Mark Johnson can can get back and win a national title this year with like you said, with Alexis Marmon. There's some other kids. Wellhausen girl from, I think, from Williams Bay is on that team, and just a lot of local talent leading the #1 ranked Badgers.
And then maybe just a quick mention, Badger basketball, obviously.
Nice
got the
win
win
against
over Marquette.
Yep.
Got to get that one, right?
Got to get that one, even though it just pains me why coaches want to put kids on the bench with 2 fouls in the first half. I don't understand that. Ethan Happ was clearly, without question, the best player on the court in the second half, and yet the first half he picked up 2 early fouls. If you want to sit him out for a while, that's fine, but
it worked, didn't it?
It worked, but he's a difference maker, and you could tell that. And
but he made the difference, and they won.
Yeah, they're losing by 5. They could have been up by 50 if he'd have stayed in the game the first half.
I think that was a case where, though, if they would have gotten down by 8 or something, he would have gone.
He would have gone back in.
They never really did. It was always they had the lead at some points. It was kind of neck and neck the whole first half. So why risk it?
He's Kevin McHale.
I don't mind it.
I'm so convinced that he is the next Kevin McHale. He's so good around the basket. His footwork, his just his positioning, his court awareness. He leads them in steals again. I mean, his basketball IQ is high, and I thought the second half, as well as some other kids might have played, I thought Ethan Happ was a difference. They didn't have any way they could guard him.
They get Green Bay on Wednesday night.
Then they're off until with
like
finals. With finals coming up, I think Florida Atlantic comes in and. Like on the 23rd or
Florida
something
Atlantic?
like that. Florida Atlantic.
Is Lane Kiffin
Lane Kiffin will not be coaching. He might be recruiting, though. Trying to take some Badger players off of the Wisconsin team and bring them down south of them. So probably Ryan Ramchick, who was All-American, is only a junior. He probably said, hey, why don't you come down to Florida Atlantic for your senior year and play for us?
He might be going to Florida, but it might be like the Dolphins.
Dolphins or the Buccaneers, yeah. I hope he comes back.
I wouldn't.
Yeah. That was a segue, by the way, between everything else going on.
We're great at segues.
We are really good. We can't talk Cotton Bowl yet because A, no one's going, and B, it's not close enough to talk about yet. So we'll talk about it at some point. But
speaking of segues, we should get you on one of those and see how you.
We should. I don't know how my balance would be, but I could probably not hit a curb. That would be.
That was a segue, including segues.
Yes, it was a segue into segues.
Let's segue on out of here.
Let's segue out of here and put these people out of their misery.
We appreciate you joining us this week. We'll be back here to talk next week. You can leave us a review down below or a comment or follow us on Twitter. Reach us at sports@gazetteextra.com. And we thank Kevin McLeod for the music and Vaughn for producing the show. And we'll be back here. We'll probably do one more show and then maybe take a little holiday break.
Take a little holiday break.
But we'll be back here next week.
Take care, everybody. Go Bucky.